today than we are since invading Iraq? What has it done for us? I have yet to figure out how I'm better off today with the invasion of Iraq than I was before it.
All right, next question, please.
Wait a minute, what was the end of your question?
Why exposing secrets?
What made you want to expose your secrets?
Oh, because also when I was at Harvard, McNamara came through. I'm a Vietnam veteran. McNamara was getting ready to die. So I guess that's the time, you know, you gotta come clean if you believe in a maker. And he admitted that the Gulf of Tonkin incident never happened. Well, that was the incident that put us into the Vietnam War, where 58,000 of my generation were killed, probably 1 million or more Vietnamese killed, all over something that never happened. Here's what it was. They told us that the North Vietnamese attacked 2 of our ships. And we were made to believe, well, that's a declaration of war. If somebody attacks one of our ships on the open sea, that's declaring war. But now, amazingly, 40 years later, it never happened. Well, if it worked then, I guess it worked well in 2001 too, didn't it?
America doesn't
We have a question over here. We have a question over here.
Did you say that the First Lady was involved in the Lincoln assassination?
That who?
The First Lady?
No.
Woman.
The first woman no, there was a woman involved in the assassination, and she was the first woman put to death in United States history. I think that belongs in the history books.
Is that Mary Surratt?
Why isn't it in there?
Jesse, is that Mary Surratt? Is that
I don't remember the name. Might be.
It wasn't Mrs. Lincoln.
No, it was not Mrs. Lincoln. Mrs. Lincoln, to our knowledge, was not involved in her husband's murder.
Although, if you want that to be breaking news, we'll give it to them. You know?
Hey, Richard?
Take it to Fox. It'll be the lead story.
That's
tonight.
right.
Jesse, I'm a wrestling fan. I just want to go back in time, find out who's your most feared opponent when you're in the ring.
Anthony Naraka.
Who'd you really get on with, you know, who
Well, the most feared,
Who cares?
I didn't really fear him, but the guy who, Andre the Giant, what could you do with it?
Better than Haystack Calhoun?
Yeah, I was 6'4", 265 pounds, and the first time I wrestled Andre, I put him in a front face lock. He picked me up over his head, walked me over, set me on the turnbuckle, and tapped me on the cheek. Nobody had ever handled me like that before. No, when you wrestled Andre, it was very safe, because when Andre wrestled you, it's much like, have anybody ever played with little kids and you can pick them up, spin them around, and do anything you want with them? Well, that's what you were to Andre. He could pick you up, spin you around, and do anything he wanted with you, and you couldn't do a damn thing about it. But a very gentle giant, a very nice man, and a true professional was Andre the Giant. Who did I like to wrestle the most? I'll answer that. Tito Santana and Jimmy Snuka. End of the wrestling question.
All right, here we go. New question. Mr. Ventura, if I understand correctly, you spent half the year in Mexico. And so I'm wondering if you could talk about your life in Mexico compared to life in the United States, and how, at all, it's shaped your views on immigration to the United States.
I have to tell you now, I'm biased to the Mexicans. I live with them. Imagine the courage I have. I said this on Larry King. I'll tell you this story. I said this on Larry King. Imagine the courage I have. That I live with these people that we're so afraid of. We want to put our military at the border. We want to build fences and stop them. So obviously we have a great fear of these brown-skinned people down there. And imagine me, I go down and live with them. I don't even know their language. The courage I have to do that.
You're a brave guy.
Well, after I said that on Larry King, and of course I was being sarcastic, I hope everyone understands, I got home, and a day later this massive bouquet of flowers arrived in my house, huge. I mean, it was 5 feet tall. And my wife, I've been married 35 years now, and when you've been married 35 years, you can read your spouse pretty well. And she walked into the room and had this look on her face like someone had died. And I said, "What's the matter?" She said, "You better go in the kitchen and see what came for you." And I walked in and saw this massive amount of flowers. And I walked over to the card, and I pulled the card, and it wrote, "To the Honorable Governor Jesse Ventura, from all the brown-skinned people of the world." And it went into a poetic phrase, and it finished with love, admiration, and respect. And you know who signed the card? Carlos Santana. Not Tito, Carlos. I was really moved by that Carlos saw me on the Larry King show, got what I was talking about, and took he don't even know where I live. And yet he took the time to find me, send this to me. The flowers are gone, but I have the card framed of what he sent to me. Now, getting back to the immigration issue. The neatest sign I saw during all the controversy of the immigration issue was one that said this: "The Pilgrims didn't have visas." And I thought about that a minute and said, that's pretty right. I mean, we came here, we killed the Indians, took their land, threw them onto reservations or internment camps, whatever you want to call them. And now we're going to require, if you want to be here, by God, you better have some paperwork. We require paperwork now. Well, I realize it's two different times, but on a serious note, how many people here think food is pretty expensive right now? Well, get ready. If you stop those brown-skinned people at the border, the price of your food is going to triple or quadruple. And then everyone will be whining and complaining because you know why? If I got to go pick those strawberries, I'm going to charge you $200 an hour. So the price is going up. Also, if we stop them, the entire economic of California's agricultural economy will collapse, as will the economy of Mexico. How can it be a positive thing to collapse two economies over the fact that these people want to come up here and work? We can stop all of this too, since we're talking about the border. Why don't we focus in on the 17,000 people who were killed at the US-Mexican border last year, which is way more than Iraq and Afghanistan probably combined, and we in the United States have the power to stop it. You know all we gotta do? Legalization. The prohibition of alcohol never worked. My mother told me before she died, all the prohibition of alcohol did was make criminals rich and powerful. That's all the illegality of drugs do. It makes criminals rich and powerful. Anybody that lives in a world that thinks you can outlaw something and it's going to go away, wake up and smell the coffee. All it means is it'll be run by criminals now. If we legalize, the cartels are out of business. They have nothing to sell. I think that murder is far more dangerous than marijuana. I would rather have people smoking pot than killing people. And I'll tell you this, I've never met a person that smokes a joint and goes home and hits their wife. I've met people that drink and go home and hit their wives. Hell, a marijuana smoker, give them a Jimi Hendrix tape and put them in the corner, they won't bother you for hours.
Bob has another question, please.
Here we go.
You know, I ought to do stand-up comedy.
ought to
What the
do
hell's
that.
that comedian around here?
Well, you're doing
Where'd
pretty
he
good.
go?
You're doing pretty good sitting
Okay.
down, though. You know, hold on.
I'll do sit-down comedy.
You're doing sit-down comedy. Hang on. Here you go, Jesse.
Yeah.
Mr. Ventura, what are your thoughts on the government's plans of the New World Order?
The government's plan to do what?
The New World Order.
The New World Order. Well, I think, you know, I'm going to say something to you that might strike you here. Maybe it's evolution. Maybe there's nothing we can do about it. Because our communications today are expanding so much, you can now go on your computer and talk to somebody in China. Well, that makes the world smaller. Maybe it's inevitable. Maybe ultimately, not in my lifetime, but maybe 100 years from now, we will be under one government worldwide. Maybe there's nothing we can do about it. Maybe that's what it's meant to be. I don't know.